Welcome to the Inspiring Heights podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Kaiser, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Inspiring Heights exists to walk alongside you as we learn to create healthy rhythms, flourish in our faith, and be inspired where our feet are. We're honored that you're with us today. We can't wait. Let's get started. Happy day after Christmas, friends. I remember the first time I heard the Matthew West song, Day After Christmas, and I legit cried. If you haven't listened to it, you should. But the premise of the song is that even though Christmas is over, the heart of Christmas, which is Jesus, is still here all year round. And that is the beauty of this season, really, in its entirety. But this day, it's kind of weird, though, right? Like, it's a lot of mixed emotions for me. I'm super sad because generally on this day, like either I'm leaving or the family that I'm with is leaving. And Christmas is my all-time favorite part of the year. And I don't ever want it to end. And also, this week between Christmas and New Year's is probably one of my all-time favorite weeks of the year. The rest and the pondering and the planning and the dreaming and the anticipation of what's to come, I love it. I'm here for it. This week can be incredibly valuable because for so many of us, and not everyone, of course, but there's a lot of us where this week is just quiet. Even if you're working this week, it's generally a slower time. Things are wrapping up or they're already wrapped up for the year. And there's a lot of people who aren't working this week. So all the way around, it can be quiet and peaceful. And it's like collectively as a world, we are all anticipating the turn of the calendar year. I think that's part of what makes it so special. It's not something that only a small group of us are doing and participating in, but something that we're all in together. This week has looked different throughout my life. Sometimes it's looked like spending time with family or friends, cleaning out my house, spending a lot of alone time. And each of those things are special and they all come in different seasons. So today I want to talk about some ideas for how to lean into the specialness of this week as we anticipate the new year together. Let's start by asking ourselves, what do I need this week? Much like in all of life, if we just do and don't think or plan, we can end up spending precious time in ways that we really didn't want to. Do you need to spend time catching up with friends or family? Would digging into that closet that is driving you crazy tee you up for a good fresh start in 2023? Is relaxing, not having a single thing planned or on the calendar, the thing that your heart and your body need this week? If we can release the expectations that the world tells us that we should have and get done this week, and actually ask ourselves what we need, I am certain this week can be meaningful and restful for us. Next, I think we can dive into planning for the new year. You all know I jump at every opportunity that I have to talk about planning. And I actually think that this might be why this week between Christmas and New Year's is my favorite, because it is very socially acceptable to talk about planning this week. Like all week, I can talk about planners and pens and color coding, and everyone just like nods and smiles, right? Because even if you're not a planner, you're like, oh, the planners are out right now, right? Like everyone's talking about it. But other weeks of the year, like in May when I'm talking about it, you're like just glazed over because it is not planning season. I am a really big believer in a planning reset, and I choose to do that at this time of year. Some people enjoy doing it midway through the year, or they do it on their birthdays, and I respect all of that. But for me, I love a fresh plan and a fresh calendar in January. I'll get to the planner part in just a moment because seriously, how do we even keep track of our lives without one? But I just want to talk a little bit broader for a second. There's some questions that I really like to work through as I am planning for the new year. The first question is, what rhythms for planning went well last year? So for me, this would be things like having a planner review worked into my morning routine, or laying out birthday preparations a week in advance for the special people in my life whose birthdays I really need to remember, and putting them in my calendar so that I am prepared when their birthday arrives. Identifying what went well can help lay the foundation for the things that we should continue to do in the new year. The second question, what didn't work in the past year? So for me, I found out that I would commit to something months in advance because there was nothing going on in my calendar that day. But what I didn't do is plan for how much time my commitment would take prior to the actual commitment. So yes, I'll definitely make this thing for that thing, right? And then that thing comes and I'm like, oh my stars, this is a 6-hour commitment and I did definitely not work that into my schedule. So identifying those things that didn't go well can help us to go, where do we need to pivot to set ourselves up for success in 2023? And then the third question, what is most important in the new year? Again, this is related specifically to planning. We're not talking about goal setting just yet. We're almost there. For me, figuring out a way to account for that time, like I was telling you, that I need to make good on the commitments that I've said I would do so that I don't overextend myself, which then translates to stress and hurry and grumpiness. That's something that would be really important for me. So I take all of those things into account as I am considering what setting up and planning for this next year looks like for me. Once we have identified the foundation for our planning of the new year, it's time to pull out the actual tools themselves. If you haven't chosen a tool that will work well for you in this new year, now's the time. And again, we all know that I'm a huge fan of paper planners. I'm just going to toot Golden Coil's horn for one quick moment. It is my all-time favorite planner. I have used it for at least 3 years now, and I'm a huge, huge fan. I love that you have a lot of control over the customization of the planner itself. Not to mention, it's super hardy, right? So the paper's thicker, so you can use a nice pen and it doesn't seep through. And the cover keeps everything together. So it's high quality, it's really cute, and it's customizable. So for me, it checks all the planner boxes. If you are not a paper person, consider what calendars or app systems that you can use to support your planning needs in the upcoming year. If you're thinking something like, oh, they have not ordered a planner yet, so maybe I'll just settle for whatever I can find at Target because I really want to get through this planning stuff. I'm just going to pause and give you quick encouragement. If a Target planner meets your needs, awesome, do it. There is literally no shame in that game. But if you are just getting excited and you don't want to wait for a planner that you really, really love, I would super encourage you to pause, order the planner that you really, really love, that will serve you really well. Write down whatever you need to write down to keep your energy moving on planning for the new year, and then transfer it into that planner when the time comes. But if you buy a planner that doesn't meet your needs, here's what I'll tell you. You will probably just end up spending more money a little bit down the road to find a planner that does meet your needs. And I am talking from personal experience. I don't even want to talk about how much money I have spent in planners over the years of my life, which is why finding Golden Coil and having a planner that holds up for an entire year and meets my needs has been such a blessing. Such a blessing. So I would encourage you to do some research if you don't have one that you love. Even if it isn't Golden Coil, that's totally fine. But just finding a planner that meets and suits your needs will help set you up for success. Goal setting tends to naturally follow planning, and I adore a good goal planning session. I've mentioned before that I am a fan of SMART goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And I use the SMART format both professionally and personally because I believe that it works. Goals that are vague and cannot be measured, they're not actually achievable. And what's the fun of that? I think we can tend to be vague and loose in our goal setting for a few reasons. First, it reduces our disappointment when we don't meet our goals. We can justify the heck out of a vague, spend more time with friends type goal. These sorts of goals give us a lot of wiggle room and very little accountability. A good rule of thumb is if someone else can come in and see if we are meeting our goals or not, then we have found the sweet spot and it is specific enough. I'm also a believer through both research and lots of personal experience that having too many goals means that we are very unlikely to achieve any of them. This goes back to the thing I say often. We have to decide what's most important and build from there. Conquering the world feels very doable on December 31st, but we all know that feeling wears off so quick come January. Deciding what matters and naming some really specific, stretch yet attainable goals, and then naming some action steps can help to set us up to move closer to what we hope to accomplish in this next year. Spending time with friends this week, maybe grabbing one last peppermint latte before they're gone, talking about this past year and dreaming about the year ahead can also be a life-giving exercise when setting goals for the new year. Another little exercise I like to walk through this week is reflecting on the past year. Here's some questions I like to ask. What has God taught me? What mistakes have I made, and what did I learn from them? What victories have I gotten to be a part of? And what are some of my favorite memories? One final thought on leaning into the sweetness of this week. If it is possible at all, plan a day or a morning or an afternoon where you don't have anything to do. No agenda, no appointments, no specific place to be at a specific time. Even good things like coffee with friends can interrupt a full day of deep rest. Sleeping in, reading a book, talking to your spouse, playing with your pets, spending time with Jesus, listening to music, and soaking it all in. After the hustle and bustle and excitement of the season, a day of deep rest can do such amazing things for our souls. I hope this week is one of rest and reflection on this past year and anticipation of what's to come. We are so thankful for each of you, and we are so excited for what this new year will bring for Inspiring Heights. All right, friends, I want to take just a moment to tell you what's been inspiring me lately. The month of December has been a full month for both Ben and I. We both had some big work projects going on that just consumed a lot of our time and our energy. And I was reflecting a couple of weeks ago on how I was feeling as it related to spending time with other people. I spend a lot of time in meetings and interacting with people throughout the day. And so it is natural, and I think for most people who have a job where that's the case, it's natural to, like at the end of the day, specifically if you're introverted, to go like, okay, I'm kind of peopled out now. I don't need any more people today. But I was really starting to not like how I was feeling about it. I'm like, man, I don't feel excited about things that used to really excite me as it relates to spending time with other people. And so I just was praying about that and talking to Jesus about it and saying like, man, God, please restore my passion for connecting with people and just like give me back energy to do it and help me to see the value in it, because I'm someone who talks about community and connection a lot, and I love that and I'm passionate about it, but I was feeling in a place where it didn't feel super life-giving to me. It just felt like a huge kind of a burden, honestly. So not too long after that, a couple of days after that, we had small group at our house that we were hosting. And it was just a small group of people. When they all left at the end of the night, I was like, man, I just had the best 2 hours. And I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about the things I needed to get done in our house. I wasn't thinking about things I hadn't done on the podcast. I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was present. I was in the moment. We had life-giving and joy-filling conversation. And I was just so thankful that God had answered my prayer in that way and had shown me the beautifulness of community and the importance of friendship and leaning in even in those moments where we don't totally feel like it. So I would encourage you, friends, to take a moment and ask yourself, what's been inspiring me this week? Friends, thank you so much for listening in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. If you're so inclined, we would love for you to leave a review of the show wherever you listen to podcasts. This helps potential new listeners to get a feel for the show before they even hit play. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Inspiring Heights. If you haven't already, you can sign up for our newsletter, Inspiration from the Moment, by visiting our website, inspiringheights.org, and hovering over the Contact Us link. If you have friends that aren't yet subscribers, please share the podcast with them if you think it's something that would be helpful and inspiring to them. Okay, friends, until next time, take a deep breath and be inspired where your feet are. Bye for now.